and exercise. Holistic methods. These methods lessen the symptom of menopause and have been tried by many women, and in these, yoga stands out as one of the best way of reducing the pre and post-menopausal symptoms. The three main facets of Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, which helps a person medically, are asanas, pranayama and meditation. Symptoms of menopause are related mainly to the endocrine system or the ductless glands in the body, which includes the ovaries, the adrenals, and some extent the glands in the neck such as thyroids, parathyroids and the thymus glands. Asanas, we have different types of asanas such as inverted asanas, such as the Sarvangasana, Adho Mukha Sarvangasana, then the stress removing asanas which are the Sarvangasana, Prasarita, Padottasana, etc. Asanas which open and decongest the pelvis, that is Prasarita, Padottasana, Ardha Chandrasana, etc. and other asanas. Medical treatment. Today's, what are the treatment options today? One is the hormone therapy, which is the commonest and the most controversial. Estrogen alone for more than 5 years triple the risk of uterine cancer. So we have to add the hormone progesterone. Adding progesterone prevents the uterine lining from thickening and reduces the cancer risk, termed as combination therapy. Now this hormone therapy has many benefits, but it has risk also. Hormone therapy has to be monitored very carefully because some of the risks are breast cancer, ischemic stroke, pulmonary embolism, dementia, that is loss of memory, and heart disease. Also, contraceptive methods are also very important till the lady has 1 year free of natural period. Other drugs such as raloxifene, bisphosphonates, alendronate, these are the various drugs which your doctor will prescribe to you. Parathyroid hormones, then soy products and isoflavones, growth hormones, strontium, vitamin D analog and calcium. Now what will happen if a person discontinues the therapy? She takes the therapy, feels better for some time, and then she thinks that she has to discontinue it. You won't be fit and strong. Then coming to heart disease. Now this is a perception. Most women think that breast cancer is very common among women and that is the commonest cause of death. That is what women think. But what is in reality? In reality, 34% of the deaths in women are due to heart disease. This is a reality. Understanding the risk factors for heart disease. So which women are at risk? Increasing age, gender, hypertension, a woman who has high cholesterol, who has family history, that is her mother had heart disease or her father had heart disease, who is subjected to a lot of stress, diabetes and overweight. Now cardiovascular diseases include coronary heart disease. This is a disease of the blood vessels which supply the heart. Again we have myocardial infarction, commonly known as heart attack, cerebrovascular disease leading to stroke, hypertension, that is increase in blood pressure, peripheral vascular artery disease, rheumatic heart disease, congenital heart disease and finally heart failure. What are the signs and symptoms of heart disease? That is pain in the jaw, neck, arms, shoulder or back, chest pressure, squeezing or pain, nausea, sweating or feeling faint and shortness of breath. Now how is menopause connected with heart disease? The incidence of heart disease is related to menopausal status. Many factors for heart disease risk change during the menopausal transition, and in particular there is a rise in the systolic and diastolic blood pressure, serum cholesterol, triglyceride, glucose and the abdominal circumference. All these are the changes which happen during menopause which predispose a woman to heart disease. Coronary heart disease is uncommon in premenopausal women. The incidence rises after menopause. Now this is a different incidence of cardiovascular diseases in relation to menopausal status. The blue bar shows a person before menopause and the red bar after menopause. So you can see how the incidence keeps on increasing at different ages. Hypertension or increase in blood pressure. The menopausal transition can be associated with a marked increase in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. With every 20 millimeter increase in blood pressure, the risk of heart disease doubles. Now, what are the benefits of treatment? One is it relieves vaginal dryness, reduces hot flushes, reduces sleeping disturbances, enhances the mood of the women, reduces depression, improves memory function, reduces risk of fracture, and reduces risk of heart disease. So all women should be asked about their lifestyle, especially diet, exercise, and smoking. Recording the body mass index, that is in relation to the weight and height of the person. Blood pressure and routine urine testing should be minimal requirements at an initial consultation. So these are all the tests which your doctor will ask you. And depending on other factors such as family history, a measurement of serum fasting lipid profile may be indicated. Many women fall within a category of having high normal blood pressure. This situation may well respond satisfactorily to simple lifestyle measures. Some women, suddenly the BP shoots up, other times it is normal. So this situation, if she takes care of her lifestyle measures, then this situation will improve. Higher levels of blood pressure may require specific antihypertensive therapy, that is tablets she has to take if she has very high blood pressure, and severe hypertension should be referred to a cardiovascular or other specialist. Now, when to stop treatment? The signs and effects of menopause are different in different women. They are not the same. Therefore, only your doctor can decide which drug you need and for how long. Where the risk of osteoporosis or heart disease is high, the treatment is usually lifelong. So consult your gynecologist today for knowing more about menopause and osteoporosis. Wishing a healthy life ahead. Menopause is not a pause, it's beginning of a new life. We have to emphasize to the plus 40 that life begins at 40. A healthy and active 40 years old is the backbone of the family. Stress on lifestyle and regular checkups. Educate, prevent and eradicate. Only you can make a difference. We should strive towards making menopausal care a preventive approach rather than a therapeutic one. Each one of us should make conscious effort to practice preventive medicine to enable our women to be fit at 40, strong at 50 and independent at 80. So don't let the pause affect your life. Embrace the change. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. First of all, the woman has to give her history, whether she is experiencing any symptoms or not. And then the routine health checkup, she can get her blood counts done. At that, yeah. If then she can get her urine testing, even a lipid profile can be done at that age as a preventive measure. And then she can even go for her BMD testing, bone marrow density testing. Because this is, we are focusing premenopausal, it is mainly the preventive approach. We are not waiting for things to happen. That's why. Yeah. See, there are no definite tests which can say that we do this test and then we get this report and then we can declare that the lady is menopausal. There are no tests like that. Only thing, we diagnose it on the basis of symptoms. So usually when we say that a lady has attained menopause, when she has no period for one whole year, it is not like, see, what happens is just before menopause, she has very irregular periods, like, after 2 months, after 3 months, after 4 months. She may be just before menopause, that premenopausal age. But then we don't say that she has attained menopause. When she has no periods at all, like, no, for one whole year, then we say that she's in menopause.
Then she is in menopause.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And what about, there is some blood test which is there on the day 3 of the period, some blood test.
Yes.
What about those tests?
That is, we measure the FSH, LH and the estradiol. So when these levels are high, when the FSH is high, because once the ovaries stop producing eggs, the level of these hormones go high estradiol level decreases, so then we can have a roughly an idea, like this probably she's going into menopause. Like, yeah. Those tests we do not do unless the lady is interested in childbearing or something like that. At the age of 40, she thinks of having a child, then only. Otherwise, it doesn't really help in the treatment part of it. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Any bleeding which happens after that, suppose she doesn't have period for 1 year, then after 1.5 years she gets a little bleeding. So we have to investigate it. We have to see whether it is just a sporadic bleeding or whether it is due to some cancer or whether it is due to some other disease. Yeah, cancer test she can get a routine sonography done. And then she can get something known as colposcopy or the pap smear test. Yeah. And then she can do a breast examination. Cervical cancer, yes. See, cancer of the uterus, roughly we can find out by ultrasound. Yeah, sonography. If the thickening is thick or whether she has some abnormal bleeding pattern. So usually we can do a DNC, take a piece of that endometrium and send it for testing. Yeah. It is routinely not done. Yeah, it is. No. Pap smear should be done every year. Yeah. Sonography, if she has symptoms, yeah. Yeah, she can either do a pelvic scan or some people are very scared, so they get the whole thing done. Yeah. Doing this. Actually, you can do it as a screening test, but actually we don't ask them to repeat the sonography every time unless there is a symptom. If she's having some pain or some cramp-like feeling, then only, or she has abnormal bleeding pattern, then only. Yeah, pap smear is every year. Something which is rich in calcium, like all the milk and milk products, then lots of vegetables, fruits, less of fat, less of sugar. Yeah. Okay, totally vegan. You can have something like ragi or something like that, which is very rich in calcium. Yeah. No, there are so many other fruits, vegetables and all that you have. Pulses.